Hey, before we jump in, if you like what you hear on the podcast, check out our free Substack newsletter, The Sober Friends Dispatch. It's a weekly dose of real talk, stories from the sober life, and a little extra support between episodes. Go to soberfriendspod.substack.com and subscribe. That's soberfriendspod.substack.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome to the Sober Friends Podcast. My name is Matt J. Over there is Steve, and you're looking for a path to sobriety. If you're curious about it, you've reached the right place. Hey, Steve, I went to the Big E on Friday night. For those who are outside of New England, the Big E is a big fall fair. It has a permanent fairground. It is the between second and fourth biggest fall festival in the United States. It's very large. It's very well known around here. And it's got the stuff like the biggest beat, the hogs, the goats, but it has all the fair stuff too, including alcohol. An incredible amount of alcohol there. And I was there late and it was sloppy. I wasn't sloppy. People were. Just clarify that.
Yeah, it gets sloppy late at night. It's like anything else. I mean, the Big E, again, if you're not from the area, maybe you're in an area where there's some big fairs that go on. Obviously, they go around all across the United States. But it's the biggest one in our area by far. And any of those fairs, they get when nighttime comes, it changes, and it's like any activity, any party we go to, not any party, but many parties. That's what happens. Sort of like at the end of at a certain point, it may get sloppy if that's what happens with people, and it's changed. I used to be part of that sloppy, right? I used to live it too. I used to live in that sloppy. That's when the party was just getting started for me. And it's always a thing to see these days, and we look at it differently. And for me, I when I look at that today, there's no judgment. I look at that's how I used to be. That's where I look at it, like, oh, that was me.
I look at it as, thank God I don't have to be tied to that.
Yeah,
I'm not a slave to it.
Right.
But This Biggie is, a lot of times it's like beer or whatever, and there is a ton of beer there.
Yeah.
But there's hard alcohol. One tent after another where there's hard alcohol. I'll tell you the saddest thing is I was guiding my daughter to the bathrooms and we went into the Young building. There are a couple of buildings that are permanent there, that they have things to sell. Nothing you need, like turtle wax or that type of stuff. And then they, put the car hood on fire to show you how great it is. It's all crap. But they have these like little open air pop-up bars. But as you walk by, there's one area that's like a little alcove with a door where you walk in, and there's a permanent bar, like walled off, where you can walk in. They've got a bar, and it was packed. And now that's sad that I have to go to kind of a permanent walled off bar that you're walking actually into a bar at the fair, and that's where you want to go. There's no illusion that I can walk around. It had a theme that it's the Christmas bar. Right. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But I just, you could look in and I'm like, oh, this is so sad. But the thing I think that makes that I get uncomfortable about it is I grew up in a household with sloppy drunks. And it just terrified me. My stepfather could get very abusive verbally. I don't remember it, but my father was physically abusive. And even though I don't remember it, the body does. Mm-hmm. And there's something around when I start seeing people get out of control drunk, it makes me really, really uncomfortable. And I think it puts me back in that place, conscious or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens to a lot of us if we have that type of trauma. I don't recall that that's any part of my history. Like I said, the biggest part for me is when I see that. And it's interesting because you brought that up. You brought that up about sitting in the bar, and I can imagine that, right? Here you're at this great And again, there's nothing you need at this thing. The biggest thing about the Big E is food. Lots of different wild foods that are, very expensive. But, if you want to go up there and try some different things, some weird things, it can be fun.
Sure.
And obviously they're hawking all kinds of all kinds of stuff. And again, nothing you need, but fun stuff. So it's a nice way to walk around, get some exercise, eat some food, maybe that you wouldn't eat elsewhere, and have that type of day. And then you look at it and you say, but these people are going up there and sitting in a bar that you could do right down the street, right?
Yeah.
Never mind that everything's way overpriced, right? So if you're sitting in that bar, like I don't even know what drinks are. I mean, I could tell you probably what a glass of wine is in many places because my wife will have a glass of wine. But other than that, I really can't tell you what drinks cost anymore because typically my wife won't drink that. So I never even see the price of something like that. But I can't even imagine. That's one of the other things I think about too is when I see people drink like that. It's like, where are these people getting money to go out there and have?
No kidding.
To pound down $12 or $15 drinks.
Yeah, the beers are like I think $15. I think that's what I saw.
Like you walk out of there and again, you want to do it one time, that's great. But I'm talking about people who do it regularly. Like you're going out there and you're spending $100, $150, whatever it is for a few drinks, and you buy whatever. And this is what it reminded me of. And again, this is what I talk about where I think about how I looked. And then two things would happen to me if I went to the Big E like you did with your family. And if it was back in my drinking days, here's what would have happened to me is I couldn't drink the way I wanted to drink, right? Because I was able to be responsible in those situations to drive my family home to be safe. I would have a few drinks, I would get a buzz, but I would get agitated. I would get agitated because I couldn't wait to get home because there was always a bottle or something waiting at home for me that I could end up getting where I needed to go. So I would get agitated and aggravated and maybe even pick a fight and go home, and it would be ugly for me. It would be ugly for me. And then the other memory it brought up for me is that years and years ago, I mean, my sister was living in Florida, and I was taken off to go visit her. Two sisters actually were living in Florida, and my brother happened to be down there for a wedding, my oldest brother. So there were 4 out of 6 kids in Florida at the same time in the same area, and we all got together, which was kind of weird, right? Because we were all adults, young adults at that point. But we got together, and we all went to Epcot, okay? And our goal at Epcot was to have a beer in every country.
Jesus.
Right. Whatever the beer of that country was, like we'd go there and have their beer. So we went to England, we had Bass Ale, and we went to Japan and had whatever, and went to, we ended up in Mexico to have tequila and Dos Equis. And that's what we did, right? We didn't go see Epcot. We went to place to have drink. And that's the kind of stuff that I did when I drank. And the truth is, we had so much fun. It was a lot of fun, but by the time we had to skip like the last 2 or 3 countries because we had reservations at Mexico to have dinner and finish up the night there, and we couldn't make it. But the whole day wasn't spent exploring different countries and stuff like that, the exhibit. And this was back before those things are like they are today. Like you could actually get into exhibits and stuff like that without waiting 2 or 3 hours. Like
yes.
So that's what I did, right? So that's what I mean. So when I look at that, I go, "Oh yeah, that was me. That was me. I did that kind of stuff." Or like I said, if I didn't do that kind of stuff because I had my family with me, I wasn't enjoying myself typically because I couldn't drink the way I wanted to drink.
Yeah, I used to have a little bit of a plan there because there's, at least at one time, there was the not so great beers, but if you went to the state building, they had the beer of Vermont or the beer of New Hampshire, and that was a better quality thing. Now there are all types of beer gardens up and down.
Right.
And we got there early. When did we leave? 2:30. We probably got there for 3:30. We were there a long time. We got there for about 3:30, and it was actually undercrowded, and people had their beers already, but it wasn't crazy. We left around 10-ish. We left. Yeah. And that's where I saw, and when I'm saying sloppy, it wasn't the high school kids. It was adults.
Yeah.
And it was people like staggering and coming up and talking to women in a way that was uncomfortable for them to see, but just people like staggering. And I walked out one and I heard it, and I go, "You can stay at my house. I have a bed there, and you can." And I'm just like, I listen. It's like, oh, get me the hell out of here. It's just bringing that flashback from what I had to deal with in the past, and I don't like it. And I think it's the feeling of out of control. I don't like it when people are out of control. It's an in control thing.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that this brings up for anybody out there who's fairly new to recovery, or like we always say, if you're sober curious and you're trying to figure out how do you navigate the world, right? How do you navigate the world around us that is alcohol centric, right? Which is what it is. And how do you deal with that, right? So this is a common topic at your discussion meetings of what do you do in these situations, and so it's always understanding that as soon as you become uncomfortable there, that's your body and your mind telling you like, "Ooh, I'm uncomfortable. It's time to go." It's time to go, right? So you have to listen to yourself. You have to listen to what your mind and your body is telling you, because that's where we get ourselves in trouble, especially in early, not only in early sobriety. If you struggle with sobriety, like, you just got to be careful. Like, listen, we both you and I have time, like, and both you and I talk about it all the time. Like, there's nothing in my brain that tells me I want to drink or I should drink, or there's somehow my life's going to be better when I drink, which does not mean that I won't be susceptible to that lure of that drink, to that thought, to that momentarily thought that, ooh, that might be fun. I talk about it all the time at my meetings. I loved drinking tequila. And I would still, if you put a glass of tequila in front of me and I had some of it, my brain wouldn't go, "Oh no, run away, run away." My brain would go, "Ooh, here's your lifelong friend that you've been missing." Like, there is no question in my mind. That's what would happen to me. So I'm always susceptible to that. So I always have to be on guard for it, and there's no reason for me. Well, there could be some reasons depending on, if I'm with a crowd of people, with other people, I may have to push through some of that uncomfortability, right? But my point is, what I started to make the point is, like, you always have to have that exit plan, right? And this is what especially if you're new in sobriety. And even if you're going out with other couples, right? And you're saying, "Hey, we're going to go out." If you're new in sobrieties, you may want to drive yourself, you and your wife, or you and your girlfriend, or you and your partner, or you by yourself. Don't be stuck where you're going to ride up with somebody and then you can't get yourself out of that situation. Right. You always have to have a plan on how to get out of there, so that when your body and your mind and your emotions start telling you, "Ooh, I shouldn't be here," then you need to take action on that. So, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous for us, and it doesn't matter how much sobriety you have. It could be a dangerous situation for all of us.
My view is, if you're brand new, my advice is don't go to a festival like this.
I agree.
If you're brand new, you're just coming in, do not go to these festivals. They're too much.
Yep.
After a period of time, you've done some step work, then go with caution. And this is for anybody, whether you have 6 months of sobriety or 60 years. The plan there is have a separate car if you need it, but have phone numbers. I can't tell you how many times having phone numbers at something like this was really beneficial. And I could call people saying, "I'm uncomfortable." And people would pick up. And it might have taken 5 people, which is why you get a lot of phone numbers. That sometimes you've got to go through 5 numbers to get to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm at this park. It's a lot of drinking and I'm really uncomfortable and I'm calling you." And that really is enough. And man, the phone is heavy. The numbers are very large and it's hard for me to dial. That's the biggest anxiety. And once I hit enter and the phone rings, right then and there, I feel better because I have taken some action. And the reason that you call people is everybody's gone through this. You're not bothering them. You're not being weak. If somebody new called me, I would say, yeah, this happens to me all the time. I'm glad you called. Let's talk through what you need to talk through.
Yeah, there's no question. That's a great piece of advice. We talk about it all the time, is because that may be all you need is a phone call. You may need to just step away and say, hey, I got to make a phone call. And that's where, having, again, and not everybody has that, right? But having a supportive spouse or family is good. Like, and even if it doesn't matter, hey, I got to make a phone call, step away. A lot of times that will get you over that hump, right? And then what'll happen is somebody will say, okay, well, give me a call back in an hour or whatever and see how you feel or whatever, right? And then you put people on notice. The other thing I've done is in early sobriety is I've told people I would be going, right? I told people in the program, hey, I'm going to the Big E. I'm uncomfortable about going to the Big E, but I need to do this for whatever reason. If I call you, realize that I'm calling you for a reason. So if you can, pick up, right?
Well,
so let people know, right? Let people know. The other thing is in early sobriety is there's lots of people in sobriety who want to go to the Big E. So you can go with sober people, right? You can make it a trip of fellowship and go up to it a couple other or couples or people that you know and have 4 or 5 people with you who are also sober. So again, right, it's that whole be part of the pack suggestion instead of being alone where you get picked off, as we like to say. You're part of this pack and you have some support right there on site. So there's lots of options for these type of things, right? You don't have to do it alone. And this is where for us, going to meetings, sharing this kind of stuff, talking about this stuff, right? Before you go, you'll get some suggestions. Or you may hear somebody, hey, I'm going to the Big E on Friday too. Let's figure out, and you can call, hey, we're here. Again, lots of options to do to keep yourself safe. But I would also agree that if you're really new in sobriety, it should be something that you avoid as much as possible for most of us. Not that, again, we can't paint with a wide brush, but for most of us, I think that's good advice.
I like the idea of going with an AA crew. That could be that shows you. We've talked about this before. Going with a pack of recovery people to things like this teaches you how to have fun without alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with if I were to go with an AA crew of people, I know they would dive too much into the bad for you food. It would be diving into the turkey legs, and I would gain 20 pounds just going with certain people,
right?
Because they would want to eat all that crap. I've gotten better at limiting my crap, but that's a great idea. Or meeting up, somebody's going to be there. Have a plan of we're going to meet up by the Better Living Center at 5 p.m.
Right.
Even if I'm not hanging with you the whole time, it's a quick meetup.
Yeah. And you can check out and you can whatever, right? It's a quick meetup. It's a quick check-in. It's a quick like, hey, how you doing? And then you have an opportunity. If you're uncomfortable, you talk about it. And, a lot of the things, like you talked about with the phone numbers, a lot of the things that happen as soon as you take action on something, you start to feel better.
Yes,
so when you run into somebody and you talk to someone, like in that situation, like you say, hey, let's meet up at 5 at this place, and you talk. Once you have that contact with that person, all of a sudden you feel better, right? Many times. Again, it's not going to work every time, but many times you're going to feel better. And it may be just what you need to get you to that next point, right? You may be uncomfortable. Or maybe you're okay, and maybe you just say, "No, fine. I'm, something. This isn't as bad as I thought. I'm doing well," and you just go upon your day. But it's a great way to do it. And like I said, if you can't go with sober people, or that's not available to you for a variety of reasons, then the phone is a really, really good option. It's a great option to be able to do that. And I've had plenty of people. I've worked with some guys who, I remember specifically a guy who was coming, new guy. I was working with him a little bit, and he had a wedding. He was like, we were only working 2 or 3 weeks together, and he was trying to, and I'm like, and I told him, like, call me. Call me when you're driving. Call me from there. Like, I did that. I'm like, I'll be available. Like, I'll be watching my phone. I'll make sure I'm available. And he did. He called me, and he called me on the way down, and then he called me from the wedding, and he told me, like, hey, I feel fine. I'm doing okay. I'm like, great. Have a good time. I'm here if you need me. And that was it. You know?
Yeah, this advice is, it's not just, well, I mean, if you tuned out 20 minutes in, then I can't help you here. But this is not, you don't have to tune out for this just because I can't identify with a fare. This is all of the events that have lots and lots of alcohol.
Right.
And the reality is, I don't care how sober you are or new or whatever, society's not going to just change for you. It is an alcohol-soaked society. You have to learn how to deal with it. And these are some of the things. These are the things that work for me. Part of it is I teach my kids when I see the sloppy people, that's alcohol. They have drank too much. That's not a good thing. And I walk them through, and I talk them through my own experience, but we have conversations about alcohol and why what they're seeing is not a good thing. And here's why. I want them to have that experience of understanding it. And they know that Dad doesn't drink. And Dad doesn't need to drink anymore. I will tell you, it was, although the people bothered me, walking by all of the alcohol places made me feel free.
Yeah.
And by the end of the night, because marijuana is legal, we talked about this last year. By the time, the end of the night, because marijuana is legal in Massachusetts, you just were walking into one hemp cloud after another, one cannabis cloud after another, which in a sense, I hope they're not mixing, but I had a feeling of, it was never for me, but if you're going to bring your vape pen and you're going to use marijuana, I almost feel better for you, because those people are not the ones who stagger and are belligerent.
I agree for the most part. Again, that's a great topic too. And listen, we're not, marijuana is everywhere. If you live in a state like Connecticut or Massachusetts, like just driving, if you're driving in your car with the windows down and going on like a main street and sitting at a traffic light, you are going to smell marijuana in Connecticut.
Yes, you're going to be overcome by it.
Right. I was just driving a few days ago with my wife, and she mentioned the smell was there, and she was like, "Oh, what's that?" or whatever, and I'm like, "That's pot. That's what you're smelling." And I said, "You smell it everywhere." Like I said, go to Stop and Shop, go to Home Depot, go anywhere and get out of your car in the parking lot, and you're gonna smell it. And that's just, again, it's part of it. So if that's a triggering, and that's a big problem, right? I know lots of people who come into recovery for alcohol and they go out because the pot is drawing them back out. It's something that I worried about for a while. I don't anymore. And again, not that I don't worry at all, but I don't worry as much. But it's something to be very careful with. The other thing you said, Matt, is that we're not talking about fairs. We're talking about alcohol events, and that's different for everybody. For me,
this
was
is an example of an alcohol event.
This for me, that was like family parties, right? And I had to be careful with family parties. I had to be careful. We used to have kegs at Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
Right? We'd go to my brother's house for Christmas, and he'd have a quarter keg outside, and that's what we would do, right?
Well, you got to finish the keg because it'll go bad.
Right. So it's like that's, so when I got sober, I needed to think about what of those things worked for me and what didn't. And I had to stay away from some of those things. I did until I was strong enough to go through them. And I tell this to people all the time, like I had to stop going to my older brother's house because he would have all these things. He would say, hey, Brian's coming up. He had a friend who made really good pizza. Brian's coming up to make pizza. And I knew, like, at the time, like, my brother is the one I drank a lot of tequila with. Like, yeah, we're going to eat some pizza, but we're going to do a lot more drinking tequila than we are going to eat pizza. So I had to stay away from them. Like, I stopped going there for pizza or burgers or whatever it might be because that's what they were. So this is about all of those things, right? Yep. And how you navigate that. Weddings, whatever that, you know in your life, whatever those parties are that there's alcohol at, which might be all of them, you have to figure out how to negotiate that. And the truth is, in early sobriety, the best advice might be don't go.
Yeah.
As hard as that is, don't go. Because that comes back to putting your sobriety first,
yes,
putting it in above everything else. Will you piss people off if you don't show up at certain things? Absolutely. But if you really want to take care of yourself and maybe your family, then you have to do what's important for you.
Yep. No, I totally agree with that. And you have to make some sacrifices. Yeah. What is more important to you, your sobriety or going to the fair? It is always important to err on the side of your sobriety. So let's talk a little bit. Let's wrap this up. Put a bow on it. Some things that are going to help me. Gratitude. I guess I'm talking a little bit of gratitude because I don't have to live like that anymore. And it's okay to feel scared or uncomfortable. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're protecting your sobriety. And it's okay to be grateful, like me, that you're not tied up in vines in the grip of alcoholism. And I really want to encourage you to reach out. Tell me how you handle it. This might be something that we can utilize for a future topic to help you. So, Steve, thanks for sharing your experience here today. And we will see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.